3 days after returning from the sacred river, Afolabi could no longer ignore the strange dreams. Every night, he saw towering mountains wrapped in clouds. Every morning, the same words echoed in his mind. The mountains remember every king. Beneath the ancient bamboo tree, Baba Adisa stood waiting. In his hands was a beautifully carved walking staff. "Your path now leads to the mountain of echoes," the elder said. "There, wisdom speaks louder than strength." Words of Afolabi's journey spread quickly through Odu. The elders gathered, mothers prayed, children watched with admiration. They were no longer sending out a hunter, they were sending out their guardian. As the morning sun climbed into the sky, Afolabi left Odu behind. Before him, he starched endless grassland. Every step carried him closer to a destiny written long before his birth. By midday, a herd of giant elephants crossed his path. Instead of fear, they bowed their heads. It was though the animals recognized something sacred within him. As evening approached, the mountains of echoes finally appeared. They rose high above the clouds, their ancient peak glowing beneath the setting sun. No ordinary mountain could inspire such awe. A voice drafted through the wind. "Who climbs the mountain of kings?" Afolabi looked around. No one was there. A group of weary merchants hurried down the mountain's trail. One man grabbed Afolabi's arm. "Turn back," he pleaded. "The mountains speak, and not everyone who listens return." Higher along the trail sat an old shepherd tending a small flock of goats. Without lifting his eyes, he quietly said, "The mountains does not taste your strength, it tastes your heart." Night began to fall. The air grew colder. Every step becomes more difficult. Yet Afolabi pressed onward. Deep inside, he knew the ancestors were guiding him. As he reached a narrow mountain pass, the wind suddenly stopped. Silence filled the air. Then a powerful voice echoed across the cliffs. "Welcome, guardian." Afolabi froze. This time, the mountain had spoken. As dawn broke across the mountain of echoes, Afolabi noticed something extraordinary. The towering cliffs were not ordinary rocks. They were the faces of ancient kings, carved by time itself. Their eyes seemed to follow every step he took. Then the mountain spoke again. But this time it was not one voice, it was many. Kings, queens, warriors. Their voice echoed through the valley like memories refusing to die. At the edge of the cliff stood an enormous stone crown. Baba Adisa once spoke of it. "Only those who speak wisdom may pass beneath the crown of kings." Beyond the stone crown, a staircase appeared. Thousands of ancient stone steps climbed towards the clouds. Every step carried the name of a forgotten ruler, a great African eagle descending from the sky. It circled Afolabi 3 times before soaring towards the summit. It was not hunting, it was leading him. At the top of the staircase, a vast stone, every whisper, every word, every promise ever spoken by righteous kings still lived within these walls. Suddenly, 3 stone doors appeared. Above each was an inscription: power, wealth, wisdom. Afolabi remembered Baba Adisa's words. Without hesitation, he chooses wisdom. The moment Afolabi stepped through the door of wisdom, the entire mountain trembled, hidden above the clouds, untouched by the time, waiting only for the worthy. As the temple door slowly opened, Afolabi stepped into a throne room, unlike anything he had ever imagined. At its center, upon an enormous stone throne, sat a king, motionless, silent, as though asleep for 1,000 years. Yet, somehow, he was waiting. The throne room fell into complete silence. Then, a single heartbeat echoed through the temple. Dust drafted from the ceiling slowly. King Obadele opened his glowing ember eye. He had waited 1,000 years for this very moment. The king's voice echoed across the chamber. "Welcome, guardian. For centuries, this mountain has remembered every righteous ruler. Tell me, why have you come?" Afolabi lowered his spear. "I did not come seeking power. I came seeking wisdom, so I may protect my people." The king smiled. It was the answer he had hoped to hear. With a wave of his hand, the throne room disappeared. Afolabi found himself witnessing the past. Before him stood a magnificent kingdom, prosperous, peaceful. Under Obadele's leadership, justice ruled above wealth. Wisdom stood above pride. Neighboring kingdoms traveled for weeks simply to learn from him. But greatness often attracts envy. One of the king's most trusted generals secretly desired the throne, and betrayal quietly entered the kingdom. Before long, brothers fought against brothers. The kingdom that had inspired Africa began destroying itself. King Obadele made the greatest sacrifice of all. He surrendered his own life to seal the temple forever. Before entering his eternal sleep, the king spoke on final prophecy. When the 7 temples awoke, a guardian with a humble heart will climb this mountain. The king removed his ancient crown. It floated through the air, stopping before Afolabi, yet it never touched his head. A true guardian earns wisdom. He does not wear it. Suddenly, a cold wind swept through the temple. Heavy footsteps echoed behind him. The hooded stranger had found the 3rd sacred temple. King Obadele rose from his throne. "You betrayed the covenant once. You will never claim its power." The stranger laughed. "Even mountains fall, and so shall your kingdom." The mountain roared. Cracks raised across the temple floor. Before Afolabi could flee, King Obadele placed his hands upon the young guardian soldier. A glowing symbol appeared beside the marks of the forest and the river. 3 temples had now accepted him. The ancient king returned to his throne. As the temple disappeared beneath the falling stone, Afolabi escaped into the daylight. The morning sun bathed the mountains of echoes in a golden light. Just before he reached the valley, the mountain spoke one final time. "A leader is remembered not by the throne he sits upon, but by the lives he lived." Afolabi smiled. Days later, the people of Odu welcomed their guardian home once again. There were no grand celebration, only grateful hearts. That evening, Baba Adisa examines Afolabi's arm. 3 glowing symbols now shone upon his skin: the forest, the river, and the mountain. 3 temples had accepted their guardian. Baba Adisa carefully unrolled the ancient ladder map. 4 sacred symbols remained. One by one, they slowly began to glow. The hooded stranger watched an ancient flame. His patience was ending. Soon, he would begin talking to the temples by force. Removing his hood for the first time, the stranger revealed 3 glowing marks upon his own arm. He too had once been chosen by the sacred temple, but somewhere along his journey, he had abandoned the covenant. Afolabi dreamed once again. This time, endless golden sand stretched before him. Beneath the desert, an entire kingdom slept. As the sand shifted, magnificent golden towers slowly emerged, a forgotten city hidden beneath the desert for centuries, waiting to rise once more. Baba Adisa studied the dream carefully. His face became pale. The lost kingdom of gold. If the stranger reaches it before you, the balance between light and darkness may never be restored. Before dawn, a mighty lion stood upon a distant hill. It looked directly towards Afolabi, then realized a thunderous roar that echoed across the land. Another guardian had awoken. Afolabi packed only what he truly needed: water, his spear, his walking staff, and the wisdom of those who came before him. Far away, powerful wind swept across the desert. Sand rose high into the sky, as though the earth itself was preparing for the arrival of its next guardian. The voice of King Obadele echoed one final time. Only when the 7 guardians stand together will the gate of eternity remain forever sealed. Deep beneath the endless sand, a colossal pair of golden eyes slowly opened. A voice whispered through the darkness, "The guardian is coming."